basically spread like wildfire. Evin has been a horrific place during the time of the Shah, and it was supposed to turn into a museum, but it didn't, and then it turned into this horrific place. I was arrested in 1982 at the age of 16, and I spent 2 years in Evin prison. In Evin prison, torture is normal. 99% of people who are taken to Evin prison are tortured. During my time, 90% of the thousands of people who were being arrested, they were under the age of 20. Many of them young girls, many of them young boys. Right now, Evin is 100% operational, and still people are being tortured there. Now, they called the torture that was used in Evin prison tazir, which is a term used in the Sharia law governing Iran. Tazir is a form of Sharia punishment for crimes that have been committed against the Islamic State. The person who is doing it, now tazir means, they lash people. And usually the lash lands on the soles of the feet. And that's exactly what they did to me. They tied me down to a bare wooden bed. I was lying down on my stomach. They took off my shoes, they took off my socks, and they lashed the soles of my feet. Now, this is torture. Of course, they have given it another name. They call it tazir. But according to Iran, this to Sharia law that governs Iran, actually the person who is doing this is supposed to put a copy of the Holy Quran under his arm so that he cannot raise his arm too much so that it doesn't hurt a lot, but nobody was holding a copy of the Holy Quran under their arm. The people who were torturing me, they didn't have anything there. They were using their full force. And this is a very effective method of torture. And sometimes when we were being tortured, the person who was torturing us would yell Allahu Akbar, that God is great while doing it, because to them, they believed that they were protecting the country, that they were protecting their law, that they were protecting their way of life. And this was what was happening to 15, 16, 17-year-old boys and girls. Now, there was another form of torture in Evin prison, which was never openly discussed. In Iran, there are two forms of marriage. One of them is a full-time marriage. You go, you exchange your vows, and people get married. And then the other kind is a temporary marriage that is called sighe. So in sighe, a girl as young as 9, according to Sharia law that governs Iran, can be married off to a man, any age. 40, 50, 60, whatever, it doesn't matter. And it has a time limit on it. So the girl can be married off for half an hour, for an hour, for any amount of time. Now, in Evin prison, this was the way that they used to rape the prisoners. All you needed was a Sharia judge. He would say 2 sentences, and it was okay to rape the girls. And there was this rumor always circulating in the prison that, according to the belief of the people who were running the country and are still running the country right now, if a virgin dies, she goes to heaven. So to prevent the virgins from going to heaven, they needed to be raped before being executed. And all you need is a Sharia judge to say 2 sentences, and it makes it okay. I was married off to one of the guards in the prison. At the beginning, I had the death sentence. It was reduced to life in prison. And he threatened me that if I cause trouble, if I resist, he would arrest my parents and my boyfriend. So I said, fine, I will not resist. I will do whatever you want, just leave my family alone. I did my best to protect my family. And I spent my nights with my interrogators in solitary confinement, and I spent my days sleeping. This is how I cope with it. And when I was sent to the cell block to spend, my time, most of my time with the rest of the girls, I never said a word about it. Never. Because it's one thing to be tortured, interrogated and tortured, and come back to the cell block to your friends bloody and swollen. Even if you break under torture, people understand, because that's what torture does. Torture is designed to break the human soul. And people break under torture. But still, you have respect. Because all those scars on your body, they show that at least you tried. But when you're raped like that, what are you going to say? There are no scars to see. There's nothing there. You just come back horribly ashamed of yourself, of who you are, of your whole existence. And then you just have to live with it. So the best way is to pretend it never happened. Now, this situation still continues in Iran as we speak. And in a way, I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to stand in front of different audiences around the world and to bear witness. Because I lived when other people died. My 15, 16-year-old friends died in Evin prison. And many of them are buried in mass graves. We don't even know where. But I'm here. I stood with those girls in bathroom lines in Evin prison. 300 girls, one bathroom. You do the math. We spent our days in the bathroom line, and we talked about our families, our memories, our past, spending our time by the Caspian, reading Jane Austen, dancing to the Bee Gees, happy things, because we needed it. We created a collective beacon of hope that belonged to all of us. And today, I carry the memories of every single girl who ever stood in a bathroom line with me. Whether they are alive or dead, I'm responsible. So this is why I stand in front of you, and I also bring you a warning. Pay attention to the danger signs. Because Sharia law, I have nothing against Islam as a religion. I'm a Catholic, I'm a Christian, and I believe in what I believe, but I believe that religion is a private thing, and it should stay at home. It should have nothing to do with society, with politics, with that sort of thing. But Sharia law doesn't understand that. It wants to take hold of everything, of every aspect of your life, of how you have sex with your husband. And that's not okay. It wants to control how you dress, how you speak, how you go to the bathroom. And that is not okay. So I'm here just to remind you, especially now that there are all these movements for freedom and democracy happening, that please pay attention to what's going on and be educated. Because, as Rahil was saying today, a lot of these things that are sold to us as religion, they have nothing to do with religion. Do yourself a favor and go read the Quran. I had this huge argument with a young woman when I was speaking at University of Minnesota. And she asked me what my opinion was about the hijab. And I said, well, I think, if you want to cover your hair, that's a fashion statement. That's fine with me. The same way that if I want to wear the miniskirt and, wear really, revealing clothes, that's fine. The same way if you want to cover your hair, by all means. And then she said, what about the burqa? I said, oh, no. Now, that's taking it too far. Because if I wear a ski mask and I walk into a bank, do you think that's okay? No, but what's the difference between a ski mask and a burqa? Because you claim that one of them has to do with religion, does that make it okay? No, it doesn't. Because if you do that, that endangers me. I cannot trust to walk into a bank with somebody who has a ski mask. Why should I feel okay to enter a bank with somebody who's wearing a burqa? Or enter an airport or whatever, or walk down the street? It's not okay. In Afghanistan, there are men who are wearing the burqa and they're blowing themselves up, pretending to be women, or there are women that have bomb straps strapped to themselves and they're blowing themselves up all over the place. So we cannot just scotch tape the idea of religion to an idea and then expect people just to go with it. It doesn't work that way. Here in Canada, we have a rule of law. Yes, the law is not perfect, it's flawed, it's human, but it is our law. And it is here for a good reason. So we need to be open about these things. You need to go home and read the Quran and be educated about these matters. Sharia law has nothing to do with religion. It's a way for a small group to control the rest of the population. It's a way for a small group to gain power and run everything. This is why it was created, and this is its aim, and it's being sold to you and I and to everybody else in the name of religion. which is probably one of the biggest lies I have ever heard. Thank you so much for your time. And again, at the end, I guess there's time for question and answer. And please do ask any questions you have. For me, I'm okay with any. Sometimes people apologize. They say, "Oh, this is too personal. Don't worry about it." Nothing is too personal, too religious, or too political. If I have an answer, I will give it to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Marina. Our third speaker, Natasha Fatah, is a Canadian journalist, writer, and broadcaster. She has been host and producer of Canada's most beloved radio and television shows and is a frequent contributor to national newspapers, including the National Post and Globe and Mail. Natasha was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and spent most of her childhood in Saudi Arabia. She has also lived in Amsterdam, Montreal, and Mexico City. Natasha earned a degree in political science at the University of Toronto and another degree in journalism at Ryerson University. Natasha comes by her commitment to social justice and political activism honestly. Tarek Fatah is proud to say he is her father. And we are very happy to know that Tarek is recovering well from his cancer, even though it's been quite a long haul. Let's welcome Natasha to the podium.
Thank you, Barbara, for the introduction, and I'm really honored to be here, and thanks for mentioning my dad, because he's not a woman, but he definitely is a crusader on this matter. Marina mentioned, and she reminded us we have to pay attention. So I want to tell you guys about something that happened today when I was sort of procrastinating at work that made me once again realize how Islamism is creeping in the most sneaky little ways. I'm a member of a group for Canadian Muslims with disabilities. My father has battled and beaten cancer, but now he's in a wheelchair, and we don't know when he's not going to be in a wheelchair. So we're dealing with a physical disability on that side. And on the other side, my sister has autism, and she's had autism my whole life. So it's something that's very important to me. Issues relating to accessibility are incredibly important, and I was happy to find a group that was for Muslims. But what I kept noticing is that on our site, people were posting prayers. There's some bloody mullah in London, or there's some imam in Saudi Arabia, and they're putting up these prayers in Arabic, and it has nothing to do with the issue at hand. So I kind of got fed up today, and we were talking about this presentation, and I'm fed up, and I wrote a note saying, I'm sick of you guys posting stuff about Islam and Quranic verses. Can we just stick to the issue at hand, which is about making Canada a more accessible country for people with disabilities? Oh my gosh, the fury I got back. Only one woman had the courage to support my comment, but I got a number of notes sent to me privately criticizing me for not being a good Muslim, for not saying the right thing. How dare I criticize any verse from the Quran or anything that an imam has said being posted. And then one man sent me the most condescending note saying, I suggest that you get up at 3 a.m. and do your prayer at 3 a.m. and don't wish that people don't post these things, that you should be praying to God for your father's health. I lost it. I said, you know what? I think you should get up at 3 a.m. and perhaps write up some policies that you could send to Stephen Harper and McGuinty and Mayor Ford about how to make our society more accessible. I'm not interested in getting lectures about how to be a better Muslim. I've lived in Pakistan and I've lived in Saudi Arabia, and I'm telling you, prayer is not the answer. Our society has the answers. We have public policy, and we have a democratic process, and we have respect for those who are vulnerable. That's where the answers come from. So my point with this story is that Islamism bullies you. It bullies you and it denies